Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Yvonne from GingerChickRehab. I'm so glad to have you back checking out what I am up to today. So in today's video, I am bringing you 3 different crafts. Yep, just plain simple crafts using the music sheet paper that I had thrifted a little while ago. Ever since I had run across it for the $2.29 price tag, or $2.09, I'm not sure. The Goodwill kind of upped their prices just a little bit. Yes, I have been dying to try just looking at some simple crafts and what a perfect season as we're going into Easter. So yes, old music sheet paper was on one of, we would call them my bucket list of items that I want to thrift. So $2.09 for a crafting material. Oh my gosh, perfect. So it's got that nice aged, it's got that nice wear, the patina of the paper, if we can call it patina. So for my first craft, yep, I am using my Cricut. So what I'm typing in here is I'm searching for just a silhouette, just an outline of a simple bunny. So even though this bunny is not just the outline I was looking for, I am going to go ahead and use him. I'm going to put him into my project. I know that I can ungroup him. Hopefully, I was testing out to see if I just needed to contour him, but that took too many of his features away. But I was able to ungroup him and then just get the silhouette that I was looking for. So now I just want these to cut out on the music themselves, not necessarily the title. So I'll go ahead and cut the title of this off. And I know I can at least cut 2 out from this piece of paper, so what I'm doing is I'm attaching them together so they cut out in the space that I want onto my paper, and then I'm going to go over to my paper and look to see how many I can actually cut out in my Make It feature. So now I have to pick out my paper type, and it may be slightly thicker than a copy paper, but we'll go ahead and cut that first. I ended up, when I cut more of them, I ended up using the medium cardstock that seemed to cut all the way through. So now we're going to go ahead and load our paper and see how these cut. Oh my goodness, how cute did these turn out? Now I need to cut out some more. So now that I have them all cut out, which was pretty darn simple, I have to say, I want to make a garland out of them. So we're just taking a regular old Dollar Tree hole punch, and I'm just trying to center it as best as I can in the little point of his little ears. But don't worry if you rip it or anything like that happens. There's always a tape for the other side. But yep, I'm just going to go ahead and start poking little holes in their little ears. Now to string my bunnies, I'm just using this nice thickish jute rope that I got from Walmart, but very gingerly pulling it through the holes. Now it's not as thin as what the Dollar Tree is, and not as thick as like the nautical type. It's just a nice tight fit, but very gingerly working it through the holes. And so my garland lays flat and it doesn't wave or anything. As you noticed, I do one on the outside and one on the inside, the whole bunny. So that way my string will hang nice and flat when I go to hang it. So now we're using that same music sheets. I'm going to look actually at the titles this time because I'm going to be using the whole sheet. Nice thing about sheet music is it's the same size as copier paper. So I went to Pinterest, I started looking up some pictures of some bunny rabbits. So when it comes to copying an image, it will let you know if you can copy or paste it. It will darken, it will have a watermark on it. So saved on my Pinterest myself is some images that I wanted to use that I knew that were safe to use in copy and paste. So to copy my image, I have a Mac computer, so all I need to do is right click, hit the copy image, and then when I get to my Excel program, paste it, and now I can start to play with it and size it to the size that I need to fit the piece of music paper. Excel is a part of the Microsoft Word program that I purchase a yearly subscription for. And then now I need to play with it a little bit. I want to do my print preview to see where I need to move my image around so it prints in the middle of the page. And then when I get it centered, I make sure that I'm only printing out one page because there is a shadow line around, and now we get to see it print. So now I'm going to print out a couple more, but again, I'm going to look at the titles because the titles are kind of go with the theme or the season or the reason for the season of Easter. If you're wondering if you can do just more than just black, I picked out this image. This little velveteen rabbit definitely caught my eye. Now we have them printed out. Now what to do with them? You could frame them, you could put them under glass, under a cloche, you could just clip them up. But for me, I already have these canvases from the Dollar Tree store that I had purchased when I had done some prints on canvas for Christmas time. So perfect opportunity to still get to use up $1 canvases. This one's a little bit more difficult because I don't have all the big canvases. I only had 3 and I had one of these smaller ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball and center to my best of my ability and then just do a pencil line because I want to actually tear the paper. I don't want to cut it. I want to actually use some water to tear the paper to give it that worn look. You could just tear the paper, but the water is going to help weaken that paper at a point where it won't tear too deep into my print. Now that we have all 4 sides tore off, and even if it's a little bit longer, I can just eyeball a little bit more that I need to gingerly just take a little bit more off. Now I have my water out, I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of my prints on my music sheets. Just that way I have the mat already wet, and as you see the bigger ones, it's almost the exact same size, so I can go a little bit more. I want those torn edges, I want that worn look. Now to glue them onto the canvases, I'm just going to be using some Mod Podge. So yep, I've got them all tore off. They're all sized to where I want them to be. And yep, just going to go ahead. And I'm actually going to put the glue on the back of the paper, not on the canvas. And I'm going to really try hard to keep it just on the paper itself. I don't really want it to go off to the canvas because I'd like to do some staining to the canvas after I get the paper applied. And if I get the glue substance on the canvas, it won't stain. So we got quite a few wrinkles going on here, and I thought with the heavier paper of the music sheet that it would not do that, but it is. So I'm going to do the trick that you all shared with me of taking an iron and some parchment paper and ironing it over the top of this. So what I'm doing is just a low heat, no steam, and basically what I feel like it's doing is just automatically zapping, drying that glue very fast. And I actually did flip them over and do the backs a little bit, still using the parchment paper just to be safe. I don't want to scorch my image or anything like that, but it definitely does help get the wrinkles out. So now that the glue is dry, with the help of that iron, I'm going to be using some antiquing wax. Now this is the FolkArt brand, so whichever antiquing wax you have, or brown wax, or you probably could even use a brown paint or whatever you want to age your paper with. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of water. I want it to be watered down. I don't want it to be full strength. And I'm going to be just using a Dollar Tree stencil brush to apply it and then wiping it off with a little bit of the drop cloth. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply it to that bare edge. That's why I said I didn't wanted to try to not get too much glue on the sides of the canvases that we're showing, and then I'm going to blend it onto that paper. Sometimes it's just hard to control, so I always have my clear wax on hand, and I call it my eraser to help blend it all together. It's just nice, neutral, clear. That way I can feather out that shading a little bit more. Then to even out the porosity in the paper, and to protect the paper, I'm going to put that neutral wax over the entire piece, and that will seal it in. Cricut again, and I am looking for a simple leaf. I want to cut out some petals to make some flowers using the sheet music. So after I find the leaf that I was looking for, that I felt it would make beautiful flower petals, I'm going to go ahead and size it appropriate, and then I'm going to duplicate it a whole bunch of times to fill up that sheet music. I'm going to attach it to my Cricut mat, but I'm going to lift it up a little bit because I'm going to cut the title of the song off. That way I don't just have a blank flower. When I measured the paper, I forgot that I was going to cut off the title, so my bottom petals got cut off, but I can adjust that the next time. To cut the title off, all I did was use a ruler, an X-Acto knife, and just already had it on the mat. Now I need to put a crease in my petal. So at first I started off just folding it in half, using a bone folder, and then doing the entire petal. But I quickly realized I could just use my fingers and just fold it in half, and then just about halfway down. You don't really actually need to do the whole petal itself, just something to help. That crease is going to, one, make it look a little bit more petal-like, and two, it's going to help it stay upright. So now I need to glue my petals onto my little pieces of wood that are going to be the center point of the flower. So now this is, yet again, it's a thrifted bag of wood pieces that I'm pretty sure that you can get in any craft store, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's. And so what I'm doing is trying to figure out which size I wanted them to be, and I determined that I think I want the smaller ones. So all I'm going to do is put a little bit of dab of hot glue. I'm going to take that flower and I'm just going to put the end point where I did the folding towards the piece of wood, and then I'm just going to hold it until it sets up. Now that I got my flower made, I'm going to need a stem. So I'm using this floral wire that it's brown that I got off of Amazon, and I'm just going to glue it to the back of this. So just a nice bead of glue on the back of that piece of wood. I'm going to put that wire in there, kind of rolling around a little bit to make sure that it's covered, and then I'm just going to hold it in place until that hot glue dries or cools off enough that I can let go. Then each one of the floral wires is a generous amount, so I'm just going to clip off the excess that I don't need, but I do always save it for another project. Now that I have my floral wire attached, I'm going to go ahead and put my very last petal. That way I didn't have to try to glue in between the petals, especially since they're paper, and that my petal can hide that floral wire. So now that I made a flower, I need a vase, and I am working through a little bit of a stash that I have of clear bottles that I just couldn't pass up because of those kind of corks, or they had some kind of rubber or some wording on them, but they just never seemed to sell in the booth. So I'm just using some crinkle paper. This is just that bag paper that you can get. I actually thrifted a huge bag, and I know that you can buy it at the dollar store. I love to fill clear jars with this to hide the stems of flowers. So I'll just weave that floral wire in there very gingerly because it's not as thick as what a piece of wood would be. So yep, right now I have 2, but I'm just going to make 3 because that's not overwhelming to this little container that I'm using as a vase. But I definitely love these. I didn't want to get rid of that little rubber stopper, so I actually wrapped some of that floral wire around there, put a little bit of dab of hot glue so it still has its little cork. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and let me know down in the comments if you've made these crafts before, if I have inspired you to do these crafts. And yes, you could do these with book paper, you could do these with printing off from graphics, music sheets or notebook paper or whatever have you. But I was super excited to actually have the real vintage music sheets to make these crafts with. And I don't know, I loved all of them, from the flowers to just the simple cutting out the Easter bunnies on my Cricut. And yeah, you can definitely cut those out by hand very easily. And then putting that paper on canvas, printing them out. Oh my gosh, those Easter bunnies are just gorgeous. And it's nice because I will resell those. Yeah, and it's just a simple, easy, quick sell item that is always nice to have something that's under that $5, $7, $10 range in your booth. And yeah, so we'll see how they sell. I did those canvases for the Christmas season and they did really well. So I didn't have to bring any of those home after the season was done. So I'm hoping the same with the bunnies. So thanks again for watching today's video, guys. And as always, give me a quick comment and a like if you like this kind of content. And if you're new and you're checking out our channel for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know when we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!